So we've talked about what a business is, right? The vision to a solution of a problem. Let's talk about why businesses fail or people fail. In 1917, Fortune did a study of the top 100 companies in America, meaning they had like market share. There's a book called Good Profit that's owned by Richard Koch. And in this book, he cites this point. He took his father's business from 20 million to 100 billion. It's the second biggest private company in America. And they basically absorb companies and make them better, right? Adding their values. And in this book, he talks about 1917, they did a study, Fortune, the top 100 companies that had market share. And then about 96 years later, I'm getting good at writing my left hand. I'm like excited. This is good practice. How many were still in business? Who wants to guess?
Less than 10%.
Less than 10%, right? So you're saying less than 10?
Less than 5.
Less than 5? Okay, pause. Who wants to agree with those numbers? Would everybody agree it's probably, would you say it's high that we're still in business or low? They probably all went out of business. Low? Is that the consensus? Okay, so just pause before I give you the answer. What does that say about our culture that we all agree that like, they probably all fail? You can write this down. We're going to define what culture is today. You ready? Because everyone has these freaking definitions that make no sense. Culture being a metaphorical ecosystem of shared belief created by an influencer. We're going to dive into how you break that down. Our culture, we like, yeah, businesses fail. So we're already walking in the equation losing. And unfortunately, we're right. There were only 7 on the list after the 96 years, and 13 were in existence. So 87% were out. You know what's interesting about that I never really thought of until right now? Literally. Statistically, real estate agents have an 87% chance of not being in business within the first 18 months.
I sold it with 94.
It's what's happening in Virginia? I don't know. No, so interesting. We'll talk about that. I have some ideology behind it. So what the heck happened? Well, think about this. Before we solve a problem, we've got to define the problem so we can refine how we solve it and then we can control it. So we've got to define a business. Does anyone remember what the definition today, our culture, the definition of a business is? I said it 17 times.
Solve the problem.
Solution to a problem. Your profits lie in between what it costs to solve the problem and how much it brings in.
Dude, I should be a professor. This is freaking awesome. That was the best. Wow, that's so cool. So, the question is, if culture is a metaphorical ecosystem of shared belief created by an influencer, one person had that vision first, didn't they? Or maybe 2. Like Ray Kroc saw when he went to San Bernardino, California. He's sitting in the parking lot in 1951 or whatever, and he's looking at the line go around, and he's like, "Oh my God, there could be a lot of these." He had a vision to a solution of his problem being broke, a vision to a solution of the McDonald's brothers only having one location. He created a franchise system which made it easier for other people to what? Open their businesses. But it all started with Ray Kroc. So that one person or that individual having that vision. And then their ability to authentically communicate that with others to get them to believe what they believe to actually take action on it. So if that's how a business starts, how the heck could it fail? Because if a business is really just, that stands for an imagined reality. So as times change and how we solve the problem change, that's just stuff and has nothing to do with the interior motive of solving the problem. So how could all these businesses fail if the vision was still clear? And that's why it's not. Does that make sense? If who watches the Olympics? I mean, right? Everybody just watched it. We know who Michael Phelps is. That's like Michael Phelps winning all the gold medals, and the next day he's 700 pounds. When they say most businesses failed, it's wrong. Every business that has ever started has failed. Except, now remember, we can't truly know and prove anything. It comes down to faith in this world, or our agreement that an ideology solves our problem. So, the only businesses, and we're not talking about money, guys, right? Because I haven't brought up money, have I? We're talking about solving problems. The only businesses that have actually lasted the test of time for a long time, because they solved problems, not money. They solved emotional belief problems. Your personal beliefs aside, if we can draw from what was done and implement that in our business, Christianity, Catholicism, all of the major belief systems, regardless of whether you form one agreement with one or not, we're not going there. We're using what? They have lasted the test of time because an influencer, right, shared their belief and people formed agreement with that belief. Muhammad, Jesus Christ. Understand? How could, think about this, the business that makes chairs goes out of business and you can touch the chair. Like, here's the chair. We know it's real, right? How could they go out of business in 96 years when people still believe culture matters? Somewhere along the line, the vision of the founder was lost in the company. Somehow the vision of the founder was lost in the company. Example.
That's happening with religions as well.
Even that. I use religion as an example, not to persuade or dissuade anyone ever from a belief system. I use it as an example for us to emotively wake up to the fact that we have not been truly viewing business properly. If you go to school, you go to economics class, like and business, the standard ideology from the industrial age was a business is meant to make a profit. Bullshit. Because if I buy something and it doesn't solve my problem, I'm getting my money back. And my problem is emotional and logical. Right? Yeah. So a business is not meant to make a profit. And when you view it like that, the correlation is you're going to go out of business. Based on what? Facts. And when you don't view it like that, you'll do extremely well. If you weighed up the companies that knew exactly who they were and inspired their people to aspire to those modeling actions of the founder to solve problems, they have less attrition and more profit. You take the S&P 500 and you weigh it against the top 100 companies to work for, and they produce better in the long term. Somewhere along the line, that vision gets lost. Example. Made in America. Anyone ever read Sam Walton's book, Made in America? Wow. One of the best books ever. Why? In the last chapter, Sam Walton, now he wrote this on his deathbed. This guy spent his whole life on his hands and knees in competitor stores, measuring the aisles and seeing how he could do better, right? That was his character. That was his essence. We're going to talk about who we are today, because our business will be a reflection of what? Who we are. Now, he started this business with the ideology to make things cheap for people. Like, truly. And back in the day, I mean, a lot of us weren't alive back then, but Walmart was a company that people actually liked. Correct? wait, so, whoa, like, they had a cultural ideology of when you were within 10 feet of a customer, you said, yeah. Okay. So in his book, in the last chapter, Sam Walton writes down his 10 core ideologies that mirrored his vision, meaning the essence of who he was. He wrote down his character, how you treat people, what you do, and it was all modeled based on his vision of his life and his vision of his business. And the unfortunality was, when he died and that book was written, the culture died with him. Because that book, like that Bible, wasn't passed down to the next pasture. The next CEO didn't obviously, many CEOs later, draw from his experiences, gather up his past, and keep his very essence in the business while they just adapted to technology. Of course, they still did well. They had market share. It's easy to be in the race, but now what's happening? Warren Buffett takes all his money out of Walmart because they didn't adapt. His character was the guy that was looking at the competition on the floor, judging how long the aisles were. That was Sam Walton's character, right? You think if he was still alive, or if his CEOs that followed him, they modeled his behavior, maybe they would have been smarter going against Amazon? It's not the money, it's not the matter, it's not the things, the stuff that's done, it's the thoughts and the beliefs that precede it. And that would be character, which is a label we place on intrinsic culture, culture being our intrinsic belief systems, and defining a culture as when everybody's on the same page. But because this wasn't a part of the daily decisions and activities of the business, when you think of Walmart, do you think negative? Or do you think positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative now.
Easy. Isn't that unfortunate?